All right. Hello there, world history class. Thanks for putting up with the video this week, guys. I know it's not perfect. Everybody would say thank you to Miss Stacy. Thank you, Miss Stacy, for running the video today and helping the kiddos out. I appreciate it. All right, if somebody in class would take attendance and just send me either a Canvas message or an email. I think some of you have the Canvas app on your phone. Let me know if everybody is there today, and if not, who is absent. That helps me to keep track of any late work that comes in. Appreciate that. Today, you should have read through chapter 16, which was a little bit more enjoyable of a chapter to read, I hope. You have notes that you've brought. I will be grading those next week, so just keep them with you. I will be grading double notes next week when I come back. Your map, same thing with that. Just hold on to it. Miss Stacy doesn't need to collect it, and I will get those from you next week when I come back. All right. We are still going to have a quiz. Yay! I know you guys are excited. If you would pull out a piece of notebook paper, I know usually I pass out a workbook page, but if you would pull out a piece of notebook paper for me and get a pencil. And once everybody has that, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So pause it if everybody's still working on that. This is your quiz question today. So I know you may not get an essay written on this, and I don't want an essay, but how did Napoleon Bonaparte betray the original intent of the French Revolution? Think through your chapter that you read and your notes that you took. Put down a sentence, 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences to answer that question as fully as you can. I'm going to let Miss Stacy pause the video while you work on that. Your name at the top. You do not have to copy the question unless you choose to. You do not have to copy the question on your piece of paper. I would say 5 minutes is probably good. You either kind of know it or you don't know it. If she feels like you need more time, that's fine. But when you have something down, then she can unpause the video. She does not need to collect these up, but go ahead and pause it and let everybody write their answers. All right. So you wrote your answer to the quiz question. Miss Stacy has not picked them up, and here's what I want you to do. And this is something very different. We've never done it before. I want you to open up your book and improve your answer. Okay? Open up your book. It's going to be chapter 16. It was the last section of chapter 16 that talked about the Napoleonic era. Look through there, read through it, use your notes if you want to, notes or book, improve your answer. For some of you, you're just going to add a couple things. For some of you, if you want to cross it out and rewrite the whole thing, rewrite the whole thing. I would say another 5 minutes to improve your answer. If you need 20 minutes, then you did not do the homework last week. Okay, so we're not going to give an unlimited amount of time on this, but maybe about 5 minutes. And Miss Stacy, I've never done this before, so you take whatever time you think is appropriate for this. When they have finished improving their answer, then I will have you collect those quizzes. Okay, so I think everybody has finished up. Miss Stacy is going to go ahead and collect those if she hasn't done so, and I'm going to move on. We're going to take some notes in class on chapter 17, which is your beginning of your notes that you're going to finish at home. Many of you like to just leave big blank spaces and fill in the rest of it when you get home. That's totally fine. However you choose to do it, fresh sheet of paper, here we go. Chapter 17. All right. Chapter 17 is a little bit more about revolutions. The chapter begins with the Congress of Vienna, which was an assembly that met and it reorganized Europe after the Napoleonic Wars. Okay, so we're after that time period of Napoleon, 1814, 1815, right in there. This Congress is going to meet for about 5 months, and then they're going to finish up right before the final defeat of Napoleon. okay? I want you to turn in your books to page 374 for me. And I want you to look in there and see if you can't find 3 goals of the Congress of Vienna. And I'm going to have Miss Stacy pause the video while you try to find those 3 goals and write them on your paper. Okay, so I think you probably have your 3 goals written down. Let's look at them and let's see what I found. And these goals are on the test, okay? Did you find the political stability? Okay, they were trying to bring stability back. There were leaders there from Britain, Russia, and Austria. The French king sent a representative, but they wanted to restore political stability to the area. Their second goal was balance of power. Now, we learned about balance of power back in 2 chapters ago, 14 maybe. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Balance of power, but then also they want to make a formal response to any revolutionary ideas that are creeping back up again in France, okay? So bringing back stability. Balance of power. On page 375, it's going to talk about the balance of power. Also, if you turn back to 316, that's where we originally talked about this balance of power. I want you to write down what is the balance of power in your own words, or you can use the book definition. So Miss Stacy's going to pause the video, put that in your notes. So what was the balance of power? You should have, we're trying to prevent any nation from growing too strong, right? We don't want any nation to be so strong that they can threaten security in Europe or they can threaten other countries. We don't want any one ruler getting too strong, like France, for instance. All right, so at the end of the Congress of Vienna, they redraw the map. The problem with what they do is that they just draw the lines wherever they choose. And people live in these areas and they connect culturally with the people that live near them. They feel like they have a nationality. You know, they believe that they're German, they believe that they're French. And if you redraw the lines and you say, this is now a new country, there's going to be problems there. So this was one of the biggest problems with the Congress of Vienna, was this map that they drew. The map is on page 375 in your book that you see there on the screen, and you're going to be working on that map this week. So you'll refer back to this one here on 375, I believe. The Congress took land from countries that had helped out Napoleon, and then they gave land to countries that had opposed him. So kind of like a reward system here when they redrew the map. This piece from this map only lasted about 10 years. All right. Next, in your notes, you're going to turn to page 377. I want you to answer this question in your notes. What was the Monroe Doctrine? So Miss Stacy can pause it again while you look through the book and try to get a definition down for me. Okay. So we have this alliance. Your book on 376 is talking about the concert of Europe. There's a quadruple alliance. It's the countries of Austria, Prussia, Russia, Great Britain. They get together. They say, we're trying to protect this balance of power, right? We're forming an alliance. They said, if the Congress of Vienna document is not being followed or the map is causing problems, then we will meet again in the future if we need to work out any problems or issues. France decides to join the Grand Alliance. So now instead of a quadruple alliance, we get a quintuple alliance, okay? And there are several colonies in the New World, mainly Latin America, and they, during the time of the French Revolt, during the Napoleonic era, those countries had revolted against their mother countries that had colonized them, and they became new independent nations. Well, the Monroe Doctrine is trying to protect those new independent nations. Because of trade benefits, Great Britain and the US want to protect those new independent nations. They basically state that any attempt by any European country to recolonize or reestablish colonies in the Western Hemisphere, so they just say the whole Western Hemisphere, that will be considered an act of aggression. An unfriendly act of aggression is what they quoted. So it was the Britain and the US that were against that reestablishment of colonies there. The alliance at this time decides that they would send troops if there were any issues. They said they are going to send troops to help get the colonies back to Spanish rule. So that is the Monroe Doctrine. Got that in your notes. Let's see. I think that is the end of section 1 for chapter 17. Nope, it's not. They're doing another one of these where they give you some section questions halfway through. So we're still in section 1. We haven't started section 2 yet. Okay. So you're going to have a little bit there in the last of section 1 about revolution in France. The word coup d'etat that we talked about last week comes up again here at the end of section 1. Make sure you know the definition of a coup d'etat. I think we talked about that last week and you wrote it down last week, but that is on the test. Liberalism and nationalism. Oh, here we go. On your notes page, draw a T-chart like this for me. Leave a little bit of space and put liberalism on one side and nationalism on the other. These two terms are here on page 378. And I just want you to put down some adjectives. There's a lot of them there. If you skim through, take a second and show some of the ways that they were the same and a little bit different. So pause the video and give them a second to fill out a T-chart. Okay, so let's look at some things that you might have put down for liberalism if you were looking in the book. Individual rights, life, liberty, and property. A lot of this is going to sound familiar, guys, to this American Revolution, right? Personal freedoms are in there with your individual rights. Religion, speech, the press, these freedoms that we have. If you wrote those things down, your liberalism side of your chart does not have to match exactly what I have on the screen. It does not have to match exactly. You're looking for the same ideas. It's in your own words, most likely. So individual rights, written constitutions are a thing that we begin to see. Why written constitutions? Because we want a formal document. We want to guarantee all of these individual rights that we're talking about. We want to guarantee the personal freedoms. We want to have a written constitution that guarantees freedom of the press, freedom of speech. Okay? We want to limit the powers of rulers. So this is the idea that's coming around. Remember, we just finished up with absolutism. Everybody's done with that. Now we want to limit the power of rulers, autocratic rulers. And then this parliamentary government goes right along with limiting the powers of rulers. Those two could be together, right? The parliamentary government style that you're going to see increases the public being able to participate in their government. It is no longer one person taking over and being in complete control. So if you're in government class, this is the idea of popular sovereignty in the United States. Popular sovereignty, power to the people, okay? Participation of the public, power of the people. We get to vote, all of those things. We get to choose our representatives that go and take a seat in Parliament, or in our case, in Congress. Okay, so let's look at the nationalism side. This one's a little bit smaller. We are nations. We want our independence, and we want to defend our ethnic interest. The book uses those words, ethnic interest. Really, we want to protect our heritage. This is coming out of countries who say you can't just redraw the lines anywhere you want to. We are Germans and we eat these types of foods and we believe in these morals and we live this way and we talk to each other with a similar language and we have a history, right? We have a history that's a German history and it doesn't belong to Italy or whatever it may be. So these are countries and nations. They're trying to protect their individual culture, their heritage, their history, their ethnic interests, as the book puts it. okay? Oh, right. Now we're going to get moved on. Section 2. Nope, not yet. I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting there's other stuff here. We're on page 381. This guy, the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, Louis Napoleon. He promises to fight for the common man and then follows in his uncle's footsteps, stages a coup d'etat. Like I said, make sure you know that name, know that what that means. The book says sudden and illegal seizure of power by force. He proclaims himself emperor. Sounds familiar, right? Okay. He declares himself emperor of the Second French Empire, which is so similar to what his uncle did. And last thing in this section is Tsar Nicholas. Ooh, going to be hard to read that top one. I'm sorry, I messed up that slide. Revolution is going to spread to Russia. So we're talking about Russia here. And Tsar Nicholas I does not like revolution. He does not want the people to revolt. He's going to try to stop these uprisings. This is on the test, that Russification, what it is, and who is using it. So put that in your notes to fill that in later this week. What is that Russification? How is he going to try to stop the uprising specifically? And it is called that Russification, and it's in the middle of page 381. Now we're done with section 1. Section 1 was long. Don't forget this lady. Put down her name, page 383. Don't forget about her. It's one of those boxes that I always tell you not to skip. It's one of those beige boxes. It will tell you about her, why she was famous. Maybe you did an elementary project on her. Who knows? You may already know all about Florence Nightingale, but do not skip over her. Let's talk about nationalism. This is the beginning of section 2, nationalism. Nationalism is the idea that countries go to war with each other because they have goals that are for their nation only. They're not going to war to keep the balance of power, which would be a goal for the entire Europe. No, they're going to war over national goals. You're going to see some small wars here. The Crimean War is talked about a little bit. There's going to be some nationalism in Italy and Germany that happens. There's nothing about Italy on the test. There's nothing about the Crimean War on the test. You can put a couple of notes in there at home. Don't stress about it too much. There's one really important guy. If you're looking on 385, where it says German unification. So there's a picture of the guy with the fancy helmet on 385. This is Otto von Bismarck, and he is on the test. So make sure you take a second to tell me what he was all about. Count Otto von Bismarck on page 385. When you're taking your notes, land there a little bit and tell me what he was all about and what were his goals. Okay, he was a Prussian guy, and you can see it on my slide there. His main goal was nationalism in Germany. He was trying to unite Germany. Okay, even though Germany was under Prussian domination at the time, he was trying to unite Germany. He was a very loyal Prussian, but he wanted to unite Germany, and he did it, and he used politics to do it. And it's pretty interesting. Okay, German unification. All right. Also, that is the end of section 2. Look at page 387. Make a small note, okay? We're on page 387. Make a small note. When you are writing your notes, there is a question in the test about the dual monarchy. And I forgot to put a slide in on this. can see it on 387. It's one of the bold words down towards the bottom. It says the Austro-Hungarian Empire or the dual monarchy. And this becomes very important in the future. So Austria and Hungary coming together, and there's a dual monarchy there. You need to know what that is for the test. Well, you need to know the two countries involved in the dual monarchy, which is the Austria and Hungary. Okay. Going to talk to you about the Habsburgs. If you remember the Habsburgs. Okay, that's it. End of section 2. All right, let's start section 3. Draw another T-chart here for section 3, if you will. And I want you to compare and contrast the age of reason. And there's a lot of contrast here. You're basically, this is not going to be comparing. This is, I'm sorry, it's not really going to be how they're the same. It's all about how they're different. Age of reason versus romanticism. We're on page 388, okay? Once you get that drawn and you're looking at 388, specifically the paragraph that you want, there's a small paragraph that's underneath a beige box. There's a beige box there, dangers of going to the extreme. That small paragraph underneath there is where you're going to find most of what you need. So Miss Stacy can pause the video and you guys fill out your T-charts for me. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about romanticism here. I know Annie's probably getting sad because we're not going to go into it a whole lot. And I think that's probably her favorite parts is when we talk about composers and music and art. And I'm so sorry. Okay. Romanticism, let's see. Okay, age of reason side, rationalism. Remember, we have to be able to rationally come up with it ourselves. We're not going to believe in this supernatural anymore. We're going to be intellectuals. We're going to fight for the common good, but we also have a period of contentment. But then on the romanticism side, I'll say those age of reason again, because I went pretty quick, but rationalism, intellectual, common good, contentment. On the romanticism side, we have the opposite. We've got idealism. We're very emotional. Nationalism, which we just spoke a lot about, self-fulfillment, desires, back to the supernatural. So we have feudalism in the Middle Ages, all that supernatural and magic, and then the age of reason came, right? And they said, no supernatural, no magic. We have to figure it out for ourselves. We're not going to believe it just because the Pope said it. We're going to find it out for ourselves. We're going to find our own truth. The age of reason, find our own truth. We're going to swing back the other way with this romanticism. Okay, fascination with the supernatural. It's nature. We love nature, the love of freedom, desire, self-fulfillment, all of those things. So it's interesting how history over time swings back and forth. If you look at American history, you're going to find some of the same things. All right, for the test, last thing I've got today for your notes is that make sure you know what the book definition of romanticism is. That is in the glossary. So go to the glossary and write the book definition for romanticism from the glossary for the test. Okay. That's all I have for notes today. Next week's homework, and don't pack your bags. We're not done. Make sure you're listening. Okay. Don't pack your bags. You're going to read chapter 17 that we just covered. You're going to write your notes of your own choice, filling in what we already did today or starting fresh, your choice. You're bringing me both notes from 16 and 17 next week. If you show up without 16, I can't grade it. So bring them both. And you're bringing me your Napoleonic map. I think it was a map from this week that you brought. And you're bringing me this map on Europe after the Congress of Vienna. It is here in chapter 17, and it is on that page. It's at the very beginning, and I called it out on page 375. That's where you're going to find help for that Europe after the Congress of Vienna map. If it is before 12:15, then I would like for you to pull out your workbooks and work on this map that I'm speaking about, Europe after the Congress of Vienna, until we get to at least 12:15. Technically, class goes till 12:20. I don't mind if class gets out at 12:15, not a big deal. You can start lunch a little early, but I don't really want you getting out before then. Start on that map for me. So Miss Stacy, if it's before 12:15, they can work on the map. And if it's after 12:15, you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week when I return.